Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Palmetto Cats Live on the regular night. Thank you for everybody who tuned in last night with Chris Flores. That was a special night. Tonight, we're here with another special guest, a huge name in the YouTubing world, Mr. Joe Jellison of Chatt Cats Fishing. Welcome, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's such an honor to have you on. You have such a big channel, and we're going to get into all that. And I just thank you for taking the time out of your busy guiding schedule and your family life and all the personal things you have going on just to sit and talk with us. And I know everyone in chat's going to appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. And just to mention people in chat, we got Fishing with the Chad, Maurice Kaysen, D is in here, Jason Lamb, Maurice Kaysen. I think I already said that. They're coming in. They'll start rolling in here in a minute. Let's get started, man. Let's talk about how entertaining and encouraging you are. Where do you get the motivation, or where did you get the motivation to start your YouTube channel, and how has it kind of changed you?
Okay, so YouTube, well, I've had a channel since 2013. Technically, if you have a Gmail, Google account, you technically have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But 2013 is when I started putting up videos, but didn't really start to take it seriously until 2015. I did a YouTube collaboration with One Rod, One Reel Fishing. I don't know if you know who that is, but I think it's part of the Guggen Squad now. And an opportunity came up where he knew Leo from Extreme Philly Fishing. And long story is, my twin brother Jake lives in the Philadelphia area, which Leo with Extreme Philly Fishing, he used to hold catfish tournaments fishing the banks of the Schuylkill River. And Jake and I would fish those tournaments, and we actually placed first in a few of them. And Leo was like, "Yeah, you guys really know how to fish." And I was like, "Yeah, you should come to Chattanooga sometime. There's a lot of different species, a lot of big catfish." And so he took me up on that, and he came down, and he was able to bring his good friend Mike, which is One Rod, One Reel. And I put them both on their personal best catfish. And that really, I guess, was kind of the spark on how Chatt Cats really just kind of went forward with that. And so that was
kind of the first unofficial guide trip.
Yeah. Way before I got the captain's license and everything. But yeah. So once that happened, I think I picked up like a couple thousand subscribers just from One Rod, One Reel alone.
Wow.
And so that started happening, and then I was like, yeah, I'm going to go and start taking this more seriously. And then I just started, cranking out content on the channel, and just eventually just started slowly picking up more and more subscribers. And then I had a couple of videos go viral, and that's just how it happened, and really blessed and thankful for all that and all the people that have helped me along the way.
So was there a point, and I'm going to jump because you kind of mentioned it, was there a point when the subscriber count kept going up to where you were like, holy crap, this could be something big?
Yeah, my channel always kind of went in waves, though, where like it would do well for a couple months, and then it would just almost like crash and burn like the next or so. Yeah, so I've never really been a consistent YouTuber when it came to, like, there's some YouTubers out there now, like Justin Kayak Catfish. He gets like on average like 40,000 views a video. Mine wasn't like that at all. Mine would be I get like 200,000 on this video, and then I get like maybe 5 to 10,000 on the next one. Like I didn't, like, my subscribers weren't completely engaged in everything I was putting out. So that's kind of how mine went. It was kind of like up and down, up and down. Because I have a couple of videos that are like, one has like 15 million views. Then I have another one that's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 million. So I got maybe around 6 or 7 over 1 million views. So it's just awesome. It's great, but it's just it's been hard for me to keep like a lot of my subscribers completely engaged.
Sorry about the dog.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine.
Hopefully my wife will. So just a quick thing. Chris is saying hello. He said Joe's a great guy. Glad we got to fish together. My my dog has a room. My dog actually has her own room in the house, and it's right next to my little studio I built. And she looks out the window and barks at everybody that comes
maybe
by.
He wants a treat, maybe he wants a treat or something. Yeah.
She wants to rip somebody's head off that's passing by.
That's funny.
But that's awesome, man. I mean, I can't even imagine. And I just started out, but I can't even imagine like 5,000 views on a video, and you know that million. When did you get your first million? Do you remember?
So I had a video called "What Did the Catfish Say When He Hit a Wall?"
Okay, so that was one of my questions. Let's go ahead and talk about that.
I was fishing below the dam, so I had dam on the thumbnail, DAM, and I think that was just kind of a, not so much a play on words, but kind of just a way to entice someone to click the video. So I guess you can say a little clickbaitish, right?
Yeah.
And that was my first video that went viral, but it didn't go viral for, I think, a few months until after I published it. So the algorithm of YouTube can be kind of hard to understand. I mean, it's a lot easier to understand now, but 4 or 5 years ago, I think everybody was just crossing their fingers, hoping that, oh, I hope this video goes viral. So that was the first one that went viral, and it was only like a 5-6 minute video. So, and that was when, back then, you can put as many ads and videos under 10 minutes. And it wasn't so much about watch time. It was about if someone clicked it, whether they watched it for 2 seconds or the entire video, that counted as a genuine, authentic view. So now it's, you know, the longer someone sits and watches your video, the more it gets recommended on YouTube. So
Which that makes more sense.
Yeah, it does. And YouTube's gotten better with that, you know, because there's always been a lot of spam and robot accounts, right, on stuff. So YouTube's gotten really good, you know, just kind of cracking the code or cracking the system there with all those fake accounts and all that stuff. So
Gotcha.
but yeah, that was the first one that really took off, and
I remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, DMV Whisker King, Beta Gene Cross. Let's see who else we got in here. Catfish Headhunters, Chris Flores, Country Cooking with Twerky Monkey. I saw his first video. Dana McGill. If I'm missing people, I'm sorry. John Savioli, he goes to church with me. We just went out fishing the other day, and I put him on a 32-pound blue cat.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. That's a good fish.
Yeah, I unofficially guide as well. I just take people out that want to go because I have a pontoon boat, and you know some landings I can't really access on the weekends by myself because they're not big enough to tie up to. So
it's always
if I
fun
have someone,
people out.
Yeah, if I have someone that can back a trailer down, they're the first that gets offered to go.
There you go. There you go.
So you're a teacher and a wrestling coach.
Yes.
Tell us, you know, I mean, obviously you don't have to tell us like what school and everything, but how does that affect your fishing?
So summertime, I'm full-time guiding on the water, and it's a great full-time job for me when I'm not in the classroom. And I'm usually doing, like, this past June, I did 15 or 16 trips just in the month of June. So it was a lot. And it was actually higher than last year just because of COVID, and I've had to postpone trips from like April and all that stuff. But it's a good full-time summer job. And then when school starts back up, I'm usually just on the weekends guiding. So I'll pick up a trip on Saturday, then one Sunday. I try to block off a couple weekends as well just to spend time with the family. So I'm just not out every single day and all that stuff. And then during wrestling season, I won't be guiding whatsoever. So November, December, January, and February, I am not guiding whatsoever just because my weekends are with wrestling tournaments. And for those of you who know about wrestling and wrestling tournaments, those are all freaking day. Like, It's
Well, I
not.
told you I used to be a high school band director, so
Yeah, so
we had
you know.
band camp and we
Yeah,
had
and it,
Saturday competitions. You leave in the morning when it's dark, and you come back when it's dark.
exactly 100%. So, and if I go fishing during wrestling season, it's usually by myself where I can just get away and have a few hours to myself and try to get some more personal fishing in and all that stuff. And then when March comes around, I'm doing crappie trips up on the lake. Um, so, and then I'm just slowly getting back into the guiding then at that point. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Eric Jackson had a question. He said, "What's the biggest cat you ever put somebody on?"
Um,
Recently, wasn't it?
yeah, I actually tied the client PB record of 68 pounds. So 3 years ago, I put a kid on a 68. And then this past June, it was like June 29th. I put someone on a 68 pounder, and that catfish
Wow.
was like super spawned out. It was 52 inches in length, and the girth was like, excuse me, 33, 34 inches or something like that. And I just kept thinking to myself, gosh, if only that were in the winter time, that would have been like somewhere in the mid 80s or something. So, heck of
Yeah,
a
because
fish.
we've seen the fish you catch in the winter in your old videos, so and they're
Oh,
just
yeah.
as long as that fish. That's
Yeah.
crazy, man.
I mean, I got freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, that thing could be like, so, uh,
It makes you on those days, and maybe not you. I'll speak for myself. It's like, yeah, that'll be an extra $50 there for
yeah, yeah, right.
for a
So you
trophy
just
cat.
gotta, it's like you just caught a fish of a lifetime. Those don't come around very often. So,
Chris Johnson said Joe's an awesome guide. I've got a second trip coming up with him.
yeah, Chris is a great guy, great angler, great friend. I'll be taking him out in a couple weeks. So yeah, man, we'll definitely get together, and I'm looking forward to it.
Wrestling coaching and tournaments are a huge commitment. I did it for a few years until work got in the way.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like
and you got to
oh
be committed to those kids, you know.
yeah, you're right. So that's why with the YouTube stuff, I've kind of stepped away from it more recently, just because now that I'm guiding and you can't do both. It's tough. It's either one or the other. So I've kind of put guiding above my own personal YouTube fishing, just because my heart is really into guiding and having someone have that chance on catching a fish of a lifetime. I've already experienced it for so long now. It's time to kind of have someone else get a chance at it.
Well, and that shows your heart too. You know, you care about people, and you care about kids. You know, we both picked a profession that isn't going to make either one of us millionaires. So
Yeah,
you pick the profession because you believe in it and you believe in
right,
helping people and guiding. You know, you probably won't become a millionaire guiding either, but you're doing something wholesome, something you love doing, which is fishing, and then you're helping people out, which is what you do on the regular anyway. So I
100.
applaud you, man. You know, and your YouTube. I was talking with Chris about this yesterday. You know, YouTube is twofold. You know, you got your subscribers and your content and people that
Mm-hmm.
look for it for entertainment, and then you got it as a way of preserving all of those memories. So you have 5 or 6 years of memories, you know, all stored up for you, ready at your access, you know, at the tip of a finger.
Yeah, and with YouTube, like there was a point where I got caught up into the, oh my gosh, I'm growing. It's finally happening. But I've always tried to look at the YouTube channel as more of like a photo album in a way, where I've
Mhm.
just look back. Because I mean, I do watch my own videos sometimes. I go back and I kind of just reminisce, and I'm like, yeah, I remember that day, or I remember taking out so and so. So you can almost kind of relive it again. And I don't, and I always tell myself this, that I fish not because of YouTube, right? I fish because I love it. Like that's where it is for me. And which it can be tough today because social media is like it's like the biggest thing that it seems like people got to do these days to get known or grow. But I don't know. I try not to let that get in my way too much, if that makes any sense.
No, I think you do well with the social media. You know, it doesn't take much to take the pictures of your clients' catches, and I'm sure that builds your client base too. You know, and
Sure.
as much as you love it and as much as you love fishing, you know, it's a business as well, and you got to brand yourself and you got to promote yourself. So I think I see all the fish that you catch from your Chat Cats Facebook and Instagram account, and you know I think it's awesome. You know, I'd love to catch any of those fish that you you bring in.
Yeah, sometimes we spoil our clients. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes they don't know that. It's like, they get like a 6-pound largemouth and then they get like a 40-pound blue. And it's like, yeah, if only you really know, like that doesn't happen like a lot.
yeah. I'm gonna start doing this myself. I don't need Joe. I'll just come out here
Yeah,
and throw a
right.
line in.
Then they come back and they book again. Like, how come it's slow? It's like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't happen every time. So,
I tell all my clients, they're just my friends, but my friends that come out, I say, yeah, I'll take you out anytime. Just have low expectations every time you come out and be surprised when you catch a nice one.
right. Yeah. Well, just never know. So,
You never know. So I imagine, you know, with being a teacher and wrestling coach and fisherman, like you're one of those people that just has to keep going. Like you don't really have any downtime, right?
no, I got 3 kids, married. So Kaylee is 7, Adeline's 4, and Kale, he just turned 2 in March. So we're pretty much in the thick of it right now, just with, raising kids and, trying to find, a happy balance, right? With,
Hmm.
guiding, YouTube, obviously, teaching, wrestling. I've actually tried to step down from coaching the high school wrestling because I do middle school wrestling as well.
Gotcha.
So I'm actually doing both kind of at the same time. But I tried to step down from the high school this year, but everything that happened with COVID, they really couldn't find someone to take my position. And it's tough
Yeah,
because
it's tough.
we're a we're a top program in the state. So I mean, I got a kid who signed with West Point Army, the Russell
Wow.
Division One. So and you got to find and you know how it is being an assistant principal. You got to find the right person for the job. Especially when it's a winning program like we have, and it can't just be an average Joe, and it needs to be someone.
An average Joe
I know,
jealousy.
right? Yeah, right. So yeah, you got to have someone that ideally what I like to have is someone that I can kind of groom right
Right.
under me for like a year, and then they know the kids, they know the system, they know what we're about, and then that next year I can step down and they can just take it from there.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, you know, I've been interviewing for principal jobs and I hadn't got one yet. And, you know, you can be the most qualified person for a job out of everybody interviewing, but if you're not a right fit, you're not a right fit. And you got to respect that. And that's really, really hard when you look at coaching positions
Oh
because
yeah.
you have a specific culture in your school. And if you bring in, well, I told you I had a dog, right?
Oh,
So she
yeah,
just
you weren't
pulled
kidding
my
about ripping your head off.
yeah. Well, she just pulled my light down. She pulled my drink off the table,
Oh,
and oh man, it's a mess. Well, give me a second, guys. She broke my
oh, you're
light,
fine. Oh, she broke the light. Oh
so
no.
my light is broken. Let me see what I can do here to shed some light on the situation. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go ahead and put this towel on this drink that's on my chargers and all my electronics.
Ooh, ooh.
I was just Billy fishing with Billy was live earlier today, and his cat came walking in to the stream and was walking all across his keyboard. And I said, "Well, that's live streaming for you, Billy.
Oh wow.
It really helped that." All right, cool. Well, we're back in action. Yeah, you got to have somebody that understands the culture, somebody that is going to be able to continue that, because otherwise you're going to lose kids. You're going to lose your program. So I understand that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm soaked.
Yeah.
My wife is in here helping me. Thank you, honey. So how often do you and your brother get to fish together?
Let's see, Jake. Last time I visited him in his neck of the woods was back in September, but we actually went on like a little family vacation to Topsail Beach, North Carolina, like a few weeks ago. So I only see him like usually maybe 2 times out of the year. Now, if you did not know, Jake was in New York City on the front lines battling the COVID stuff. He's a nurse practitioner. So
Oh,
he was
wow.
technically part of the first wave of military to go over there and combat the COVID virus. And he was there
Wow.
he was deployed there for 2 months. And so he just said it was just super crazy. And obviously he's like at ground zero, right? Dealing with that. And but yeah, he's a pretty serious carp angler out in
Yeah, I saw
Philadelphia.
that.
So that's like his bread and butter, is the carp fishing, which
You know, and I watched your channel on and off. And I guess I never realized you had a brother. I never saw the, like, because you have the, like you said, the YouTube algorithm suggests videos to people, right? And so all of your top videos were suggested to me, even though I've subscribed. You see those first, like, up next or whatever. And so
right.
I never really went to those deep tracks. I call them deep tracks because
Uh-huh.
you can go into somebody's page and see videos that you've never seen before.
Sure.
And so when I was researching you and trying to get to know you and what questions to ask, I looked at those deep tracks and I was like, he's got a brother. And then I figured out that he's got his own fishing channel.
Yeah, Jake's channel is Top Tactic
Top
Fishing.
Tactic. Yep.
And so he, like I said, primarily fishes for carp in the Philadelphia area. I mean, he does do some catfishing as well, but primarily carp fishing is his niche. So
Now, did he start here recently, or did y'all start close to the same time?
I think Jake started his channel back like in 2016, 2017. I think once he kind of saw, how I was doing, he's like, yeah, I'd like to try it too. And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. I mean, and so his fishing out there isn't really big like it is here in Tennessee, where I'm fishing the Tennessee River. He's usually fishing like, smaller rivers like the Schuylkill
Right.
River, the Delaware River, which Delaware is actually not bad. But so he's definitely been pretty successful at what he's doing with the carp stuff. And
Yeah, I saw his one of his more recent videos. He did a bowfin video. He
yeah,
was
and
catching
you're
bowfin.
right. He's recently gotten into the bowfin fishing. I guess they're kind of like snakeheads, I guess,
They
which
are. Mm-hmm.
invasive pretty much
So they
everywhere.
fight like crazy.
That's what
And
he was saying. Yeah, have you caught one?
oh, I've caught several. Well, I've never I used to catch them. Before I got into catfishing about a year and a half ago, I used to exclusively fish for panfish, like basically shellcracker and brim and sunfish. And so I would catch them on a brim buster, a cane pole, basically, a
Wow.
telescoping cane pole. Yeah, and that's what we did. We'd go find the beds like in April, May, and we'd tear them up. Just big, giant, hand size shellcracker. You call them. You probably no. Y'all call them shellcracker too,
Yeah,
right?
they're the same as red ear sunfish.
Here. Yeah. But yeah. So we'd go and we'd catch them, by the hundreds per week. We just go get on them and catch them. So we caught a bunch of bowfin that way. Well, just recently, about a couple months ago, I caught 2 bowfin back to back, and we actually call them mudfish. But they snagged ate my bait and pulled it down just like a catfish, and I reeled it halfway in, and it leaped out of the water about 3 or 4 foot in the air, and I thought it was a striper for some. I don't know why I thought it was a striper, but it got up and it was like a 15-pound bowfin. And then I threw it back in. It was huge, man. And I threw the bait back in, and the very next fish was like a 2 or 3 pound bowfin. So yeah, they fought great. I told my dad about it. My dad's the one that kind of taught me how to fish, and he said, "Yeah, we used to target bowfin all the time." Like, really? He said, "Yeah, we used to throw up. You throw up in the reeds or up in the weeds up near the bank, and they hang out in there to stalk, things that fall out of trees or whatever." And I never knew that. He never taught me that, so I can see why somebody would want to fish for them, and snakeheads too.
Yeah, I wish we had them down here in a way, just so I could catch a new species and add that to my bucket list.
Yeah, you come on down here and you can catch all of them that you want. You might get annoyed with them though after a while when you're trying to catch catfish.
Sure, like the gar.
Yeah. Oh my God! Don't even get me started on garfish. All right, the needle nose gar here, man. And Chunky Cats Fishing is in here. He deals with it all the time up in DC. They'll slam your rod down and they'll leave you wanting every time.
Yeah, they bend the rod good, and then as soon as you start cranking or setting the hook, it's like everything's gone. You're like, I hate those.
Now this summer I did get 2 or 3 in the boat, but I don't know. We always used to. Well, my dad and I used to always beat them with a baseball bat when they come in, so they stop. They stop. It wasn't the most humane thing. I don't do it anymore, but man, we hated them things, man. So do you and Jake ever get competitive?
I'm sorry?
Do you and Jake ever get competitive with fishing?
Yeah, I mean it's more friendly competition, but yeah, I mean, we're pretty low key people, so we don't get super hyped up with stuff, but
low key wrestler? Come on, man.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean we try to, I guess outpace each other a little bit, but more just for silliness and everything. And we talked about trying to do like a one-on-one twin challenge in a video or something like that, but just haven't really
you should
and do it.
Well, and you got a little unfair advantage being in Tennessee,
Yeah. Like, you'd have to come down here, and I got a boat too, and not that he can come on my boat.
Right.
But yeah, that is something we've talked about. Just just food for thought or something, and
I think your fans would love to see it. I know you hadn't really done much YouTube lately, but Luke Nichols and Chris Flores we were talking about last night. They did a 4-hour fishing challenge. I don't know if you saw that video. That'd be kind of cool. Top Tactic versus Chatt Cats.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, they did do something like that, I think, a few years ago. And the challenges used to be a pretty big thing on YouTube, right? Like, use the Barbie rod to catch a big catfish or Dock Demon and then it went from like toy fishing rods to Survivor, 24-hour survival challenges. And then now it's like spillway monster videos. The cut bait with the hook and, I caught the spillway monster, and then, so it's kind of like, it's funny because fishing kind of goes in trends on what's going viral, sort of say.
Yeah, what are people gonna want to watch?
Yeah.
Man, guys, forgive me if I get electrocuted, but my lights are starting to. All my electronics got wet.
Hey, this may be a video that goes viral.
Y'all might witness a death.
Right. Yeah,
let me stop before it happens.
Live stream goes south quick. ...
For real.
Not clickbait.
Not clickbait. Yeah. So let's talk about guiding. You kind of already said it, but what's the most difficult thing about being a guide?
About being a guide?
Right.
Weather, honestly, for me. I mean, I feel pretty confident putting people on fish because I've you know, I'm a river rat. I can usually find them. Not to sound prideful or anything, but you know, the dam is an easy place this time of the year, especially where catfish are going to be at. And for those who have watched my videos, I am I, I do the free line chicken drifting like no other, and it's like we put in over 60 fish last Saturday.
Wow.
And it's just so it's just that time of the year where, and it's a lot of channel cats, it's a lot of eaters, but I mean, I just know they're down there. It's just that
Right.
pattern. They're just going to be below the dam. So it's not really so much finding fish, but I think for me, it's the weather and then, you know, maybe catching the big one if they want it. So I think that would be the most pressure. So, like, I don't know, weather, like the wind, that's always an issue if you're battling 20-mile-per-hour gust winds or something. And
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, that's going to be an issue, right? And then fishing during a cold front, right? You know, it's been in the 60s all week, and now the high the next day is going to be 40. You know, and you're fishing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, those are the days that I kind of dread a little bit, just because it's, you got that south wind coming up, and you know that's going to hurt the drift. But you just roll with the punches, deal with it. And I think the biggest thing I've learned about being a fishing guide is, you know, staying optimistic and saying, hey, we're going to find them, and hey, we're going to get a good one. You know, I think the more optimistic you are, I think that rubs off on the client, and they
Oh,
want
for
that.
sure.
They want a guide that's not going to just be a bump on a log, but they want a guide that's going to provide a good experience for them. And so I try not to focus so much on finding the big fish, but really just more focusing on, can I provide a good experience for them? So,
Gotcha.
I've
Well, that's kind of transfers from the classroom too. I mean, because how many times we've been in that situation in the classroom to where we're just kind of a bump on a log, and our kids feel the same way as we do because we're kind of transferring our attitude to them. So
right.
I totally feel that.
And the days I cherish the most as a fishing guide is when plan A and plan B don't go to get, like they don't pan out. It's like, oh, someone's fishing here, I can't do that. Or plan B was, I was supposed to do this and this, but this didn't work out. What do I do now? And that's where, like, even as a teacher, you gotta be creative, you know, use your wit to find out what can I do to provide a good lesson now. You know what I'm saying? And kind of go on the spur of the moment and do something. And the days I've appreciated the most on the water is when I'm just being random sometimes. Like, hey, I'm going to fish this down tree here. That looks interesting. It's 5 feet, but there's a down tree. And then you just see that rod bury down. You're like, oh, wow, we made it work. You know what I'm saying? And it just ends up working out. So,
Well, you got to puff your chest a little bit too. You're like, yeah, I took a chance, and I knew because of
right.
experience that there might have been a fish there.
Yeah, and I always, I try not to make myself like I'm the expert. Like, even though as a fishing guide, like
You
you
kind of
are,
are
like
though.
you are, but I try to just be down to earth as possible, saying, here's what we're going to do, here's what we have a good shot at getting. And if plan A and plan B don't work, I'm going to say, hey guys, this isn't working. Let's
Right.
try
Let's
doing
move.
this.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just, and luckily everything has worked out in all of my trips. I mean, I've had a few where I've had to prorate clients just because, hey, we only caught, I don't know, 6 or 7 fish. But I mean, typically though, I have pretty good trips that go real well. So
That's awesome, man. So I
yeah.
just want to say a couple of people have come in. We got Catfish and Crappie. I got his hat on right here. Hey, buddy. Mike Greenwell, Tim Molina, Glenn's Catfishing Adventures, Mr. Gadget Fishing, Muskrat. I hope they did well in their tournament today. They were out there battling the heat. It was a hot one today. Lyle from Catfish Weekly, Miss D, Dana McGill. Welcome everybody. Welcome if you if you're wondering why the screen looks different, if you just came in, I think my dog has fried my MacBook charger, my my filming light, and my LEDs behind me. So this is going to be an expensive video, but
I'm
as
not
far
on this, yeah.
oh man, she did me up good, but you know you gotta love it, right?
Yep,
Gotta love her.
all you gotta do is change the title of this video to live stream goes get electrocuted or something.
We're still doing good, man. I still got a great guest, and we're having good conversations. So we'll just keep moving on, man. Tell me about the one that got away, because I recently just had one that got away, and it's probably the biggest fish that I've had. Now I know you've caught some big ones, but
I've had
you
several
know,
get away. I mean, the one I'm trying to think. Oh, I've had fish spool me before, like completely take my line off the reel, and I think they were stripers.
yeah.
You know, fishing the tail race of the dam. I've had that happen twice. Of course, I'm using 6-pound line trying to fish for smallmouth, right? And then I'm using like a live shiner trying to go for smallmouth, and then I set the hook, and then it just goes like, zzz, like that's not a smallmouth. That's a
Crank the
striper.
boat. Crank the boat.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, clients are like, "Oh, what do we do?" It's like you can't do anything. It's just
You're not turning that
way
fish.
underpowered for that, and it's so that I've had that happen a couple times. Now on the big tackle rods, I've had I think Billy Claybo was with me on that, and then also Leo. We were fishing downtown under Market Street Bridge, and we had a rod just buried over. Like, I mean, it double down, and I pick it up. I couldn't even crank it. That's how much tension was on the reel. It was like it's one of those where you had to pump it up in order to start actually reeling. But it was like, yeah, I can't reel. There's so much pressure on it. And I just handed it off to Billy, and he cranked it, got a couple cranks, and then it got down into something down there, like some junk, and then just it broke the line. I mean, I think at that point I was using see, now I use 40-pound main line, but I think that one had 50 or 60-pound main line. If I think it was 50, but that was like 3 years ago. But that one makes me wonder a little bit, like how big that was, maybe a flathead or something. And but yeah, I don't think I've really had a story though where I've battled a fish for 5 minutes and then it's broke off.
How
But
about a time that maybe you've made a mistake that's cost you a big fish?
I've had with clients before where they're battling a big fish, especially on the light tackle stuff. Like, I'm like, yeah, this one's easily over 20. Okay. And with the light tackle stuff, like I use 10-pound line. Okay. And I've started using 20-pound braid just because clients have a hard time battling a big fish with 10-pound line. And 20-pound braid, they can have a little more power in and reeling it in. But there was one time I was like, yeah, let's just tighten up that drag just 2 notches. As soon as I tightened up, it just snapped. I was like, oh gosh. You know,
Oh,
so I've had that happen before. And so I've learned now where it's like, okay, if you feel like you need to tighten just to put a little bit of heat on them, I'll leave the ball in your court.
you put it on them,
Yeah,
huh?
'cause it's just I mean, it depends on who I take out. Like, if it's someone experienced, you know, then I'm gonna trust that they're gonna know what to do. But it's the people who don't really fish a lot that just want to fish, just to catch fish, and they hook into a big one. They're like, "What do I do?" And I was like,
Mm,
"Just hold on first, okay?
hang
Like,
on, man.
let that fish just run around a little bit." And because I tell people it's like dancing with the devil in the light tackle stuff. Like, it's not an easy thing. I mean,
Mm.
and but it's fun. I mean, it's fun, but it is dancing with the devil. And I said, you know, you'll get your heart broken sometimes down here.
Yeah.
just part of it though. And you can't use heavy tackle when freelining the chicken, because I don't use any weights or sinkers. I just use the hook and the chicken, and then you want that chicken to bring it down to the bottom. So that's how that works. You use heavier line, it's not going to go down. It's just going to kind of stay put. But the lighter line will bring it down, and then that current will move it around and do its thing. So
Fin scales and tails said wifey
Yep.
was fooled at the damn freelining. She's not a fan of that anymore.
Yeah, you're right, Lamont. It's like dancing with the devil down there. I mean, I tell my clients at every guide trip that I take them on when fishing below the dam, I was like, you're going to catch fish, but if you hook a giant, your heart can get broken just because, and your line too, obviously, but it's that type of fishing where, I mean, it's just going to happen. So I always tell people, I was like, the fact that if you can get a big one in on the 10-pound line, even if it's from 20 pounds to 50, the biggest we've caught is 51 pounds on light tackle down there. That was with Billy Clabo and Alex with Realistic Fishing.
Yeah, I saw that video.
And that took like 45 minutes to an hour to get in. So, I mean, and we have a bridge we got to get through as well. So it's a rocky dam down there. It's not easy to fish that dam. So.
Yeah, I've never tried freelining. I'm going to try that, but I often bump. Well, I drift, but I call it bumping because I'm bouncing the weight off the bottom down our canal in Santee Cooper, and we do that. I do that for eater fish. Anytime I want to keep some.
I will say this: the freelining is good in current. So, it's really a good tail race type technique. I mean, I've done it on the river, like when there's current. But and I tell people, I was like, fishing big lakes, open water, it's not very conducive for that type of fishing. No. But if you got current, that's like, I don't know, anywhere from like 1.5 to 2.5 mile an hour. That's pretty good, where that free lining would really come in handy.
You throw it ahead of the boat, ahead of the current?
Yeah, I cast it. So like if my boat's kind of going like this, right, I'll cast it this way. So then it's going down with the current. So you want to cast up, you want to cast upstream. So as your boat's moving back, your current's moving, or your bait's moving back with it. So
gotcha.
Yep.
I'm going to try that. We have a tail race below our dam too, and I tried to drag it the other day, and I caught a few fish, but man, I got snagged on every other tree branch coming down there, and I knew it was going to happen, so it wasn't like it was surprising. But our current can get pretty heavy up there, so I'm going to try that. But I usually bump down our canal in between the two Santee lakes, and I just use either stink bait or like little chunks of blueback herring, and I use medium, not even medium, like medium light action rod. And when that 10-pound cat hits it, man, it's a great fight. So really, I think every other fish that you catch on that lighter tackle is going to feel like a monster, and unless they know any better, they're going to think they're pulling up monsters anyway.
And that's the thing, like, it's just standard spinning gear. It's not like you have to buy any of this fancy stuff, which, I mean, there's a time and place where I anchor fish with the big rods, and I mean, there's definitely a time and place for that. But this time of the year, all I'm doing is using like ugly stick rods, basic spinning reels, spooling it with 10-pound, $2 Walmart line. And
wait, you're talking about what I do every day? Come on, man. I use ugly sticks.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's just something about catching a fish on standard, or a big catfish on standard spinning gear. I mean, it's just what I do this time of the year, and I haven't had a client go home unhappy with it. So
it's fun. As you feel like, and catfish are so good. Like when you get them on there, like they have just enough fight to make you feel like it's a monster.
Yeah.
But you can still get it up.
10-pounder will feel like a giant on there.
Oh yeah.
So it's I just love it. It's my favorite. I think hands down, it's my favorite thing to do for catfish is the free line drifting.
I'm gonna try it. Are you going to Catfish Conference this year?
I'd like to, but it's right during the state wrestling tournament, which is why I haven't been in the past couple years. So that's usually end of February, and that's like right smack of the state wrestling tournament. So I haven't been able to go to it for the past 2 years.
I've never been, so I'm just asking. I
It's a
think
good
we're
experience.
pretty much set on going this coming year.
Yeah, it's a good experience. You get to see everybody and different vendors, and so it's definitely gotten bigger each year, it seems.
For sure. Yeah, I've seen the videos that people put out, and it's crazy. Like how many people had. And Chris was just talking about it last night. How the first year they had no clue how many people were going to show up, and they were sold out by the time that the gates got open. So
Yeah, it's amazing how big catfishing has gotten, in the past like 3 years. See, and going back to the YouTube stuff, like when I first started, it was really Steve Douglas was still putting out content, Chris Flores and Luke Nichols of Catfish and Carp. They were like the top three, doing catfishing, YouTube videos. And so I saw an opportunity where I was like, well, geez, I think I'm the only one in Tennessee, that could start doing videos fishing the Tennessee River. So I felt like that was an opportunity for me as well. And what really got my channel like just skyrocketing was the free line videos, because that was something that just wasn't, it's kind of unorthodox, right? A lot of people don't think to go weightless or don't use any sinkers, to free line, right? But a lot of my
especially for catfish.
yeah, but here's the funny thing, like a lot of my audience on those videos are from like Indonesia, like out in Asia and everything,
Wow.
because they fish similar to that. They don't use like a lot of the heavy duty rods that we use in America, but they're using like bamboo sticks and just simple stuff, right? And the free line drifting is a very, very simple technique. So I picked up a lot of views from people out in the Middle East and Indonesian areas. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, I think just you talking about it, I think you're gonna start to pick up some more views with it, And I see YouTube go through that sometimes. Like you'll get a bunch of views and then it'll die down, and then the season will pick back up, and you'll get more views as more people search for it. So.
And I've put out a lot of client-based videos. I think if I start fishing more like by myself, I think those views would go up again, because when people subscribe, they're subscribing not to. I tell people this all the time. They're starting out. I was like, people will subscribe to you not because of your fishing. They like you, right? They want to see you. You become an emblem, right, of your channel, and people like that, and not saying you can't have other people on your channel, but for me, it was me fishing by myself for the longest time, and then I started getting more people on there, and then I think the views kind of went down a little bit, which I mean, it is what it is. It's just it's just guiding and YouTube. It's a hard balance to find between the two.
What's your earliest fishing memory?
Grandparents taking me fishing probably when I was 4 or 5. Yeah, I get the fishing comes from my mom's side of the family. They were all of the hunters and fisher men and women type deal, but my dad's side of the family was all in the sports, so but my earliest memory is just my grandfather taking me and Jake out, fishing for whatever bites, right? Using the night crawler and the bobber and just casting and waiting for your bobber to go down and then reeling it in. And, so fishing's always been in my blood for sure. You know how fishing's kind of it's not a weird feeling, but a feeling that just never leaves you. Like I can catch a bluegill and get the same adrenaline rush if I'm as if I'm catching like a 50-pound blue. I don't know. It's just that adrenaline just kicks in. I'm like, yep, reel it in, and so it's just fun. I love it.
Yeah. So who do you look up to as an angler? And
Um,
that's I know that's a tough question because YouTube's full of them. But mine would be my father because he taught me everything I know about fishing. So
yeah,
even if I don't want his opinion, sometimes I'll ask him about it.
right. My grandfather first and foremost, because for him, I think what I learned from him the most is that it's not so much about catching fish, it's about the experience.
Right.
There's a quote by Henry David Thoreau where, he wrote, I think it was Walden, right? That book Walden, I think he wrote and everything. But he says, men will fish their entire life knowing that it's not fish they're after. Because when he wrote that book, it was him in solitude, experiencing nature. And, I think he had like an entire chapter on just ants fighting against each other and just the realistic approach and how these ants were just fighting over food. And he went like in the strict detail on, I mean, it was like an entire chapter just on ants, like just the whole climax of them battling over just like a crumb of food and what they were doing. And so I don't know. I think for my grandfather, it was just kind of that, it's not about just catching fish, it's just the experience and getting out and enjoying time with the family and the outdoors. And so that kind of reminds me, that it's not just about catching fish. And then my good friend Ty Conkle, fvcatfish.com. I don't know if you know
Hmm.
who he is or not,
Yeah.
but he's the one that really got me going into and chasing the big ones. I mean, I've learned so much
Okay.
from him, and he's a wealth of knowledge, and he's also a catfishing guide. But I owe a lot to him really because I've almost replicated what he showed me into what I've done. So definitely kudos to him. And then Steve Douglas, we all love Steve. Steve is like, the backbone, I feel like, of the catfishing community since he's showed us so much for free. Like, and I think that's
Yeah.
what a lot of people need to realize is that like Steve, has given us like an avenue, to learn so much stuff for free. And so he's one I look up to. Um, and
Yeah.
it's
He's actually the reason I don't even know what I was doing. It was about 2 years ago, and we got rid of cable about 8 or 9 years ago. So we've been YouTubing and Netflixing forever. But
yeah,
I typed in. I remember I went out fishing, and I was brim fishing, but my dad had given me these Shakespeare contenders with which basically is an ugly stick. But he gave me this matching set of rods for Christmas a long time ago, and I cleaned the dust off of them, and I took them out, and I didn't have any rod holders because I knew catfishing, and I just set it out with some Walmart shad, uh, stuff that we would turn our nose up at today, but Walmart shad, and I just threw it out there, and I was setting the anchor, and I just heard a knock and then a splash, and I looked over, and my reel is sailing across the creek. And I was like, "Oh my gosh! I wonder how big that fish was." So then I put all my pan fishing bait away. I put my cane poles away, and I went and started catfishing. And I didn't know what dragging was at the time, so I just started pulling a weight across the bottom. I was dragging, and I caught probably a 25-pound catfish.
oh wow.
Um, and that hooked me. It just hooked me immediately. So I went on YouTube and searched catfishing. Steve Douglas came up, and those takedowns that he had just in the rod holder, and it's such a genius move. He was so confident that catfish was going to stay on there that pole went down, and he just filmed it, or his wife filmed it. And said, "Look at that! Just look at that!" look at that thing, pull that for like 15, 20 seconds. I'm like, get the fish, man.
I know.
So I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Getting anxious. You're like, okay, come on, Steve, start reeling it, man.
Yeah, yeah, because you know, everybody else, normal people will go run towards that rod. Oh my god, oh my god! But he's just like so calm. Look at that thing. Look at that thing go down. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so then after a while, I was like, maybe I should try this catfishing thing. And it was a lot harder than I thought. But
Yeah, and it's interesting too because when I first moved to Chattanooga, I booked a trip with Scenic City Fishing Charters, and Richard Sims, he's another guy I wanted to throw out there. He's another angler I look up to. He's the one that showed me the whole free line drifting with raw chicken. So I didn't just make that up myself. That was something I borrowed from him, and I actually now do guide trips with Scenic City Fishing Charters. So it's funny that I'm technically a former client of that.
you're that guy.
Yep, I'm that guy. Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm more like an independent contractor with that guide business. I mean, Chatt Cats Fishing. I now have an LLC on that, so it's an actual business now. So I book trips through that, and then I also get trips through Scenic City Fishing Charters. So
awesome. So what are the most dangerous waters you ever fished?
definitely below the dam. Any big dam is going to be dangerous. I mean, they have those signs that says dangerous waters, so I'd say that's probably the most dangerous. And there's times where I'll actually go in the turbine holes. Now that's only if there's like no generators on, right? So if the generators aren't on, I'll be in there. But if they're on, yeah, you won't see me in there. Okay, so sometimes I can actually get around the generator and hang on the wing wall, and I've caught flatheads doing that. So
Yeah, I saw you do that.
it's a little tricky, but I mean, it's not that bad if you know how to operate your boat well. Like I tell people, it's like if you're not experienced in the boat and knowing how to handle the water, then don't do it. Okay. But
Right.
I mean, for me, it's like I can handle my boat really well, and I can usually get around it and get right on the wall and be fine. So
It's funny that you guys can fish those dams. See, our dam, like it's against the law to go to fish past a certain point. And ours isn't nearly as dangerous looking as some of the ones you fish, and definitely not as dangerous as like Hagen Grubbs was fishing one in one of his last videos, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're actually allowed to fish that close.
now,
So we have two lines. One of them is a daylight line, which is about 100 yards from the dam. You can't even throw a line across it. And then there's a nighttime line, which is about almost a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile from the dam. You can't fish it after sunset.
interesting. Now, I won't be below the dam if they got full generation running, like 4 or 5 turbines running, I won't be below the dam. And if they got the floodgates on, I won't be below the dam. So I only go down there if they're running 2 generators or something. And that's just something that I've just learned throughout the years. Like I just know, like I got an app on my phone called TVA Lake Info app, and it lets me know like what they're going to be running the next morning, so I can prepare for guide trips and have a game plan put together on what I'm going to do. Like
Justin Johnson talks about TVA all the time.
So because they'll change that water flow, that generation throughout the day, because it's a hydroelectric dam. So if more people are using power, they're going to be using more generators. It's just a whole system they got put.
Man, let me tell you, when they turn on you can tell, like, I don't like to go fishing on the weekends because the pleasure boaters and definitely I don't like to go in the river below the dam or even miles from the dam, because when you're out there trying to get that morning bite and everybody wakes up, they start running that water, and it's a tidal system. So the tides get all screwy and the fish get all screwy, and you might as well call it a day at that point.
Yeah, I have no choice but to guide on weekends since that's kind of a lot of. But I mean, I make it work. And like I got a trip tomorrow actually on a Monday, which would be
Oh
good because
wow.
everybody out there. But like I'll be below the dam tomorrow. It's just it's that time of the year where that's where they're going to be at. So
tell me about Shattered Cat rods.
okay, so Shatter Cat rods, I've used their rods for 3 or 4 years now. And they were a new company, a new rod company when I first started using them. I met them at the Catfish conference. They're from Ohio. That's where I'm originally from, Cincinnati,
Oh,
Ohio.
okay.
So
You got a lot of Ohio people in chat right now.
yeah. So I'm from Cincinnati, the Nasty Natty is what we call it. But they were new. So one of my good friends, Dave, who he took me on his boat a couple of times on the Ohio River, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to try out these Shatter Cat rods," and I was like, "Sure." So when I was at the conference, he introduced me to a couple of the guys that own the company and run the company, and I was like, "Yeah, I could see myself using this." It's a heavy duty rod. It was a 7.5 foot rod, stainless steel guides, graphite only. And it was light. It was a super light rod, easy to cast. And I was like, yeah, I could definitely use this. And loved it. You know, I replaced all my rods. I used to use the nightsticks. And I replaced all my nightsticks with the Shatter Cat rods and loved it. You know, but the only drawback I had with the Shatter Cat rod was it was light, but there wasn't a lot of backbone to it. As if you were fishing like in super heavy current, like it, especially when I would take out clients, I mean, me or you could get a fish in with it, right? But if you have someone who isn't as experienced or just doesn't know how to use a big rod and a big power, right? They're not going to know to pump it right and reel down and then pump it. They're just going to keep reeling and and the tip wasn't super sensitive. So I mean you could kind of miss bites sometimes. Not that it really mattered if you're going for a big fish anyway, because
Right.
they would get big.
Yeah, you know when they bite. Yeah,
Right.
those
So
heavy action rods really aren't too sensitive.
I would still use the rods if it were just me, right? But now that I'm guiding and I have more clients I'm taking out, I've switched over to the B&M Silver Cat Elite rod, and that has a sensitive tip. It's a little thicker than the Shatter Cat rods, and I've just started using those because it's just easier for clients. I feel like that's really the only reason why I've started transitioning over. And I like B&M. You know, they're a reputable company, solid people. I use their crappie rods as well, the B&M trolling rods. So I feel like I was like, well, I've used I've used the B&M. There was another rod I used by them before the Silver Cat. I think it was just called the Elite rod. The Silver Elite rod was what they had before the Silver Cat Elite. So, and then I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and just start using these. And so I think I've been fully transitioned to Silver Cat Elite rods now for 3 months now. So still got a couple Shatter Cats, but so yeah, that's just kind of where I am with that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean you gotta do what's best for the business. My friend John asked if you've ever used a salmon noodle rod.
What's a salmon noodle rod? Is that a?
I don't know. So the answer would be no, John.
Yeah, not you.
Yeah, he said Chad said Silver Cat and then came the Elite, he believes. Mr.
Yeah,
Gadget says I'm waiting on someone to come out with an 8 to 8.5 foot rod that has a longer butt on it, like a saltwater rod.
yeah, the longer
Okay.
rods are good for casting, for sure. So a lot of you bank fishermen, if you're fishing from the bank and you need to get to deeper water, the longer rods will definitely come in.
Yeah.
B&M definitely sells longer rods. Like they got 8, 9, and 10 foot rods. So But yeah, I mean, I love my
Gotcha.
Silver Cat Elites. I love the company. So nothing against Shadow Cat Rod. Just felt like it was better for what I
Better
was
for
doing.
your clients. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So hey man, I got one more question. I mean, I got a bunch of questions, but
oh,
we're getting late, and
sure.
Monday's coming. I know you got a guide trip tomorrow, and I start back work tomorrow. Pray for me.
Yeah.
But man, I think everybody in here wants to know, what's it like to hold 100-pound catfish in your arms?
Well,
I mean that.
I only weigh 130, so I'm not a big guy. I can make any fish look giant, honestly. But it's heavy as crap. Like, I mean, here's what I tell people about the 100-pounder, or the one that was pushing 100 pounds. You didn't fight that hard. Like, they feel more lumberjack feeling as you're kind of reeling them up off the bottom. It's really, I've had better fights with like 30 and 40 pounders or even 50 pounders than that one. They're just so old, they're super lazy. They don't move as fast, they're just kind of like, yeah, we're gonna bring them up, almost like dead weight. But what you like about the 100-pounder is just looking at it, right? And being able to
Yeah.
hold it. It's not so much about the fight per se at that point, but it was really more about, oh my gosh, this thing's a true giant. And I thought it was maybe like 80 pounds or something, because it was long. It was like 53, 54 inches in length, but which I thought, okay, still a long fish, but its girth was like humongous. Like, that belly was like from like here to like down to my knees or something. I mean, it was just, that girth had to have been like 39 inches or something. I mean, it was just filled out to the max. And but here's the funny thing. I think I caught that fish before. My first 90-pounder came in 2016 in January. And then I remember it because it had like a red scar on its top dorsal fin. And then when I caught it 3 winters ago, it had that same scar, and it was like 97 pounds in the same spot I caught the 90-pounder before. So I think Justin kind of had like a similar
Yeah.
experience.
Here recently. Yeah.
Five, and that comes to show the importance of CPR, but it also comes to show that catfish are creatures of habit. Like, they'll go back to the same area if there's a good food source there for them, or if there's structure, or it has the right thing for them to be in. And I will say, flatheads especially, like,
Yeah.
super territorial, those fish are. Like, blues, they're migratory. They move a lot up and down rivers, but those flatheads, man, they're like the king of the river, really. Super
Mm.
territorial. So, but yeah, I mean, fish of a lifetime when you can catch one that big. It's like, always release those and try to get them back in the water as soon as possible, so you can make sure they swim off. And
And I
uh,
think that's what I respected the most about that fish. And not to say anyone's wrong for trying to get a state record, but like it didn't even register in your head. It didn't seem like, and I'm sure it did, but you were more concerned about saving that fish, and
yeah,
that says a lot about you, man.
yeah, records. I mean, I don't know. Like, if I got it on video, that's my proof. Like, I look
There
at it
you
like
go.
that. If I'm getting something on video, like, I'm just gonna have my YouTube thing. And for me, and it did take me a while to get that thing back in the water, because I'm measuring it, and trying to get good pictures, and then having to lift that thing up by myself. Gosh, that's a lot of work. For a fish that's almost 100 pounds, that almost weighs as much as me.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I mean, it's just a fish of a lifetime. And I tell people, I was like, they don't come around very often. And so it's usually, if we get a big fish in our neck of the woods, it's usually like 50 pounds or something. That's like last year, I only caught 2 fish over 50 all year last year, only 2.
Wow. In Tennessee?
Yep, we're well, yep, my neck of the woods, fishing downtown Chattanooga, and
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a rough year to get quality. Like I had several in the 40s, several 45s, but it was like I just cannot get one over 50, you know, but 2 times. But this year I think I've had 5 already over 50.
That's
So I
crazy,
mean,
man.
yeah, so one of them
The
was
biggest I've gotten this year is a 40. So,
and that's
and
still a nice fish.
oh,
Like I
it was great, and I
I
wish I
think
would have caught it.
I, sometimes we just get spoiled. Like I even tell myself
Yeah,
that, like I'm so spoiled. Like there's some other people who are watching this live stream, I'm sure, that don't even get fish that big in their waters, you know. So
right, right.
just everything's about perspective and
It's relative, and it's about perspective, and you know, a giant is relative. You know, that's all.
right,
That's all you guys say. Yeah, I know mine's coming, John. Yeah, it's often, and I'm blessed to fish in trophy waters. You know, Santee Cooper is known for
oh
big
yeah,
cats, and I
absolutely,
know it'll come. I've only been at it for about a year and a half, and just got a boat here in the past 2 months that I can fish out of regularly and be confident that it's going to crank up every time. So we'll get that one in there. Well, hey Joe, I don't want to keep you any longer, man. I just want to say I appreciate it. Before I go, I started this segment last night, and usually I only have one show a week, and thank God I'm worn out, man. But
yeah,
I want to recognize a YouTube channel of the week, and last night I did Kentucky catfish, and tonight I want to do catfish and crappie. Go check out Mark Prisbish, I think is his last name, catfish and crappie. Really nice guy. Just started a YouTube channel a couple months ago, and you know the quality on his stuff is excellent, and he's really starting to build up. He's got a lot of supporters, so go check that out, everybody. If you're not subscribed to Chatt Cats Fishing, go subscribe. You know, even though he's not putting out videos, those views and those thumbs up help, and I'm sure he loves to read the comments. Also, for this video, if you hadn't hit the thumbs up, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Check out our other videos. And Joe, every time we end a live stream, I like to pray us out. So I'm
sure,
going to do that at this time.
yeah,
All right. Heavenly Father, I just thank you again for this platform to share my love for you, share my love for fishing, and to meet fantastic people like Joe Jellison, Lord. I just thank you for him and what he represents, not only in the fishing community, but Lord, just in general in education. I can tell he's dedicated to his kids, Lord, and we need that. He's dedicated to his personal kids and to his work kids, Lord. And I just pray for his year, Lord, that when we start back, that he'll be successful, that the guiding business will keep him on his toes, and he'll keep doing well with that. Lord, again, I just thank you for the United States of America, Lord, that we're able to do this sort of thing without fear of persecution. And I just thank you so much for all your blessings. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
amen. Yeah, thanks
All
for
right,
having
man.
me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. No problem. Keep it up, man. I'm gonna keep praying for you, and I look forward to that challenge between you and your brother. Hopefully, you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
can put that out.
definitely. We'll definitely keep that in mind. So thanks for the idea on that.
Yeah,
So,
man. All right. Have
all
a
right,
good night, brother.
all right, take care.